my God, like even throughout the small little break, like lots of shit's been going on in the NHL, and dude, like it's not getting any better for the Arizona Coyotes. Like
Uh,
this is getting serious now. Like this is becoming a bit of a joke.
yeah, but seriously, I'm sorry to say, it's a long time overdue.
Mhm.
That franchise, and it's not that they haven't had competitive teams or anything like that, but you look at it as a franchise on the whole. They have a rink that seats maybe 5,000. I mean, Plas Bell blows it out of the water alone.
Yeah.
That's not all right for an NHL team to have no fans. You look at it also too, how many, like, people at the end of their contracts now. I think Shea Weber, you had Pavel Datsuk, you had countless guys, like amazing guys that just had to take an early retirement or whatever it may have been. That's a place where a contract goes to die. That's a place
Yeah.
where it's like a think of it almost like a gas station, like a refueling or like a service shop for the rest of the
in the
NHL. It's
middle
not a true.
in the middle of the desert. Yeah,
Yeah,
literally.
it's fucking. I'm sorry to say, but like there are cities, and we're not even going to go talking about Quebec. We're not going to go talk about maybe
Yeah.
Southern Ontario. We're not going to talk about Houston or
Mhm.
other massive cities. They're just like even the Atlanta Thrashers. All due respect, were a lot less of a joke than the Arizona and Phoenix Coyotes were
Yeah.
over the years. So
God,
that's
remember
that's my that's my
rem
opinion.
well, I think when you draft guys like Danny Heatley and Ilya Kovalchuk, like, holy shit, like, back in the day, like, it was something to be excited about, like, they were 2 of the best players in the world at one point. I remember
Yeah,
that. I
yeah. Well,
remember that.
Kovalchuk, I remember like that guy was pulling off highlight reel goals
Mhm.
when in my early teens.
Yep.
Uh, Fantastic player to watch. Atlanta was Atlanta. Like it's nothing overwhelmingly special, but like even if they were to bring it back to like Hartford or other places, it's just like I feel that it's been a long time that the NHL has been babying Arizona just for the sake of having a team. And yeah, sure, Shane Doan, I know there is some
Yeah.
history there. You have to honor it, you have to respect it, but hey, the fuck, Winnipeg lost their franchise. They lost the Jets way back when. Quebec lost the
Yeah, they
Nordiques only
the
to
Jets
lost
you we all forget that the Winnipeg Jets became the Phoenix Coyotes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and like look at Winnipeg. Winnipeg isn't like I'm sorry to say they have other than maybe CFL football, which fine, at least that. But
Mhm.
fuck, other than the Blue Bombers and other than the Winnipeg Jets, like those people are just thirsty for sports. Whereas Arizona, like I'm
Yeah.
sorry, it's not a hockey market, and there's so many hockey markets. I wanted to just finish up by saying like
Mhm.
Quebec. Okay, they didn't have the Stade Videotron, which was ready to go and would have been one of the newer buildings, if not the newest building, if it were part of the NHL. Seattle aside,
Mhm.
you look at them. They lost their team. They go to Colorado. They win the cup next year. Like how fucking hard is that? To
Yeah.
to have watched for true hockey market. There was a significant rivalry there. There's no rivalries really in Arizona. There's no competitiveness. There's no interest. There's no desire from the people who are living there. Clearly, with the vote that went through. So I'm sorry to say, but it's becoming humiliating for the league. And other than Gary Bettman wanting to stand ground and nurture his baby that's
He's
clearly
gotta he
dying,
yeah,
he needs to let go. Fuck.
but I like how you bring up the rival there's no rivalry. If they It's funny, you kinda made me change my mind because they're talking about other cities like Quebec City, and they're talking about I think they're talking about Salt Lake City. They were talking about Kansas City, which I think maybe could work out. If you want to develop a rivalry, though, why not put them in Houston and have them a bit of a
Absolutely.
rivalry with the Dallas Stars?
Yeah, the
I
RR, the
think that could
redneck
work.
rivalry.
Oh my god. Can you imagine? Oh my god, can you imagine the fucking Winter Classic is they call the RR Classic?
Look, look.
The redneck rivalry classic.
but
It's all
but
joke. It's
seriously,
all jokes.
it's
But no,
no,
it
but
could be something.
that is a great point
That's
though. That is
marketing. That's marketing, which the NHL is missing. Charles Barkley could back that shit up.
Yeah, I love that guy. The guy's quotes on
I love him.
hockey and his
I love
perspective
him.
on hockey,
I
like
love him.
he's actually shitting on basketball in favor of
No, dude,
hockey a lot of
but
times.
like okay, but like this all ties in together, okay? And it comes down to
Can
one person and one person. But
can I
finish your point. Yeah,
I just want to say one thing before we could close the book and we can just
yeah,
advance to the rest of the conversation. Houston, absolutely 100% before Quebec, before other areas. You have to keep them in the West. Stars are in the West,
yeah,
Texas in the West.
yeah.
You want to keep a team in the South. You got the team in the South. You might have the demographic. And then right away, to your point, you have that rivalry that is going to sell tickets. And there's just the sheer number of people
Hmm.
living in Texas.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people even moving out of California.
Zero
That's a
state
whole other
tax, by the
song.
way. Zero state tax,
Yeah,
by the way. Might
exactly.
that could probably attract players, like no joke.
That could fucking definitely attract players. So I just want to say, great point on Houston.
Well,
And now going back to Charles Barkley.
you just made me switch my mind because I'm there thinking like, yeah, no, Kansas City. My God, they have the Chiefs, the Kansas City Royals. I don't know if there's anybody else I'm missing. I think there's a Kansas City MLS team. To the best of my I can't think about it now, but this all ties into what Charles Barkley said on the Spitting Chicklets podcast. The NHL does a bad job at not just marketing, but putting games on TV. And I
Yeah,
understand they're up against basketball and football, which is like the two biggest like sports in that just not just in the country, but in North America. Like let's not kid ourselves. Like basketball is popular in Canada too, in some sense. You know what I mean? But like especially football, basketball. But if you want to gain fans in America, like you're gonna have to compete with basketball and football. And I feel like the NHL, they just like it seems like they're just giving in that, well, we're not going to beat it. So, you know what I mean? And this is where you mentioned Gary Bettman before. And Joey's coming in. Here we go. Sorry. Yeah, there we
no
go.
problem.
Joe,
Hello,
you
hello.
made
Hey,
it.
Joseph.
You made it
I have made it.
just in time. Oh, sorry. Oh, wrong button. Here we go. Joe, just made it in time. Look, we didn't get started on the we didn't recap the second round, but we were just talking about how it's not really looking good for the Arizona Coyotes.
Nope.
And like Chris brought up a point where it's like there's no rivalry for Arizona, and then he just made me think that maybe um, switching the team or relocating the team to Houston could create a rivalry with the Dallas Stars in some
Yeah,
sense.
Houston would be a great market for them. Besides, I know everyone would say like Quebec or whatever. Houston is a
I
really big sports city,
I
so it
I
would
I,
be my
I
choice in the US.
well, I think so too. And but the whole problem with all this, it comes down to the lack of marketing and putting
Oh,
hockey, actually
absolutely.
publicizing hockey in America. And like Charles Barkley, I'm sure we all saw that clip of Charles Barkley on the Spitting Chicklets podcast where he says they do a poor job putting hockey on TV. And he's totally
He's
right.
right.
And listen, I I I I it comes down to Gary Bettman, and I just really think, look, I think in 30 years, we got to give credit where it's due. He did expand the game of hockey. He expanded the NHL, but I think right now, like the well is dry for Gary
Yeah,
Bettman. I I,
Yeah,
I I really I really think it is. Like I really think it's time to bring in somebody new. It's literally thanks Gary for what you've done. We'll take it from here, and we need a bit more. I don't know. There needs to be like, listen, I'm not a businessman. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know this shit, but like, it seems like there's got to be somebody else who's open to more ideas and how to expand this game, this league to at least to the states.
but why is he so stuck in of keeping this team in Arizona?
I don't know, but
we were just saying that.
Look, you see how
I don't know.
embarrassing it is?
It is. It
On
really is.
Twitter today,
Yeah.
their official account, Arizona, actually asked the fans,
Yeah.
like, "Where do you want us to relocate?" Like,
Yeah. I know.
really? It's just
Yeah.
I found that was a complete embarrassment. I don't know.
It
It's
it
not working.
it is. Yeah. It's not working, and that's what I mean. Like, listen, I think he's done his time. Like, I don't. If I listen, nobody knows how this shit's gonna resolve. I think everybody is speculating and worrying that a relocation might happen. Although, what's his name from the president of the NHLPA said he can't really see the Arizona Coyotes not playing at Mullet Arena. So I think one more season there, and you think about it too, man. Like the Arizona, they have amazing prospects coming up, especially after last year's
They
draft.
do, yeah.
So like they got to figure something out, and like they got to figure it out soon because even
Yeah.
this year they're gonna draft a good player, and Gary needs to get his shit together for sure.
Did they say why they voted down for why they voted no for the
I
new stadium?
I honestly
I only saw
ignorant
the voting itself.
yeah, me too, ignorant of me. I didn't do deep research as to why it was voted against, but I don't know, man. I think it's time to move on. It's sad, it sucks. There's
Yeah.
some people there that did support the team, but
Absolutely.
it's time to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to say, like on that front, you were saying what can they do business wise? We're talking about broadcasting games, and I know this is going to sound stupid, but we are failing in our own country, and I don't know if that's just a question of the sports networks, but you look at TSN, these blackouts that occur because of the region that you're living in, that
Mm-hmm.
alone is
Yeah, it doesn't
absolute
help.
Oh yeah,
fucking
yeah.
bullshit, because the amount of games that I would tune into, the amount of extra games that I would tune into
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that are not in my own
But
market.
yeah, if you're out west, you can't watch games. Like there's so many Winnipeg games I wanted to watch and I couldn't because of the blackouts.
Yeah, and that in itself is bullshit. And the other, so like blackouts are happening here in Canada where the demand is there, and I don't know if it's just TSN and Sportsnet taking advantage of that, particularly TSN that's taking advantage of that, but that in itself is wrong. It's sad to see that like you'll have more coverage on college basketball and like college level sports rather than professional, like the
It's more
actual
popular,
professional league
unfortunately.
sports
Yeah,
in the NHL.
it's
And
massive
then
in the
what
states.
when you talk about a guy like Charles Barkley, you also have Snoop Dogg. The
Mm-hmm.
people who were like making a pitch to buy the Ottawa Senators, obviously like Ryan Reynolds is Canadian. Some of the other names, the weekend I think was amongst the individuals who were a part of that bet. But seriously, fuck, you know, I think it would go a long way to get some American spokespeople, like a spokesperson or several spokespeople. I don't know if that's actually a word. I've never said it in the plural form, but at least a spokesperson or two that'll speak like Charles Barkley is doing. Because I think a lot of Americans, like football, we can all agree. Football in the United States, it sells. It's interesting.
But say
People
what
like to
college
watch it.
basketball, Chris. That's what you're mentioning. It
So
sells.
just NCAA
Same,
basketball, football, they're massive, massive.
same, exactly. But a lot of people are turning around, and I hate to say, I hate to say it, and it might actually affect the way that the NHL could be playing. You watch people and they're like, "Oh my god, they're fighting barefisted! Like this is savage!
Yeah,
Oh my god, they're hitting each other
they're
at like
it's
It's
20
just
entertaining.
not
miles an hour."
exposed enough. It's not
They
exposed
just,
enough.
yeah, they don't see it, they don't know about it. They might have one or two voices that are starting to talk about it and getting people into the game and like, hey, watch this. But every single person, and I've heard this, you've heard this from your uncle, my dad said it a lot of times. He brought Americans to the hockey game, like to hockey games in their local states when he was visiting and doing business. And most of them would leave there going like, holy fuck. Like they would
Yeah,
leave there going like, Jesus Christ, that was so exciting. It was so fucking like so quick, hard hitting, a little bit of violence. Like that was like football on ice
yep,
with less stoppages.
yeah.
Well, that
So
reminded me.
fucking
That reminded me, Chris. I went to so one game I went to outside of Montreal is I went to a Kings game once at the Staples Center in California, and the people around just you can just tell like they're very new to hockey, and there were so many people I encountered there that are so new to hockey, enjoyed it, but it felt like so many people around me were never exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, I kind of felt like, oh my, wow, so many of these people in these stands don't know much about hockey. Whereas in Montreal, it's the opposite. It's
yeah,
really the
person
opposite.
puts a
It's
toe on the ice. Too many men.
but also we also got to realize in Montreal, like that's what happens when you win 24 Stanley Cups in almost
Of
in over
course,
100 years. But like hockey in the East, it's not gonna die. The hockey in the East,
it's
it's
hockey
not
in the West, the
it's
market.
more out west
Yeah,
and a bit of the
central and west
south.
and south and south. Yeah.
So
But in
yeah,
Arizona's case, every other sport. So I think of Arizona like the Oakland teams.
Mhm.
Oakland has been doing horribly
Oh my
in terms of
god.
getting attendance,
The Oakland
whether
A's.
it's
The
Oakland
Oakland A's
A's
too
now,
now.
which
Yeah,
is just a
yeah, they're
little over
gone.
2,000, 2,000, 2,000 people that go to a game at,
Ugh,
every,
that's
yeah,
awful.
2,000, imagine.
That's
You know,
awful.
exactly. Or the Oakland Raiders now went to Las Vegas. They
Yeah,
did the right things by moving the team out of Oakland with no hesitation.
yeah,
With hockey and the Arizona Coyotes, it's becoming an embarrassment now. It's how many years
yeah,
you're saying this, and the thing that put it over for me was that question on Twitter. I cannot
yeah,
believe that
yeah,
was asked.
I
That
didn't.
that put it
I
over for me.
know.
I'm like, this is done. I don't know how stupid can you be? Just move the team out. I don't get why they're trying so hard to keep them in Arizona if it's not working.